So just like baptism,
Eating phone. Eating phone because you don't have clothes.
just like baptism, communion is another reason why you come to church. So
It was a craft hater, right?
It was a wafer. No, it wasn't.
by
It
the
was
way,
a
if he wants to
wafer.
get baptized,
Why are you
told her.
gonna
It was a wafer.
So again, guys, guys, quiet. If you want to get baptized, make sure you come. You stay with me. So we got to go tell Pastor Buddy after church, okay?
Okay.
My mom's
She wants to
birthday.
get
I just
baptized.
told your
Just
mom. We need
kidding.
to let Pastor Buddy know and your parents know, okay? So we have been, or we were in. What did we just get done talking about? What did I go on and on and on and on and on and on? Crazy faith. We were talking about faith since September, all the way up till last week. Now, last week, Emily, if you gotta be quiet, you're gonna have to go next door. Don't put your cups in
Cup should
the
have
mouth.
went in the garbage.
Yeah, the cup should have been thrown away. There's a trash can if you missed it. So, there's one right there.
I want to throw mine away.
So, what did we talk about last week? Who remembers? Who remembers? Angel? Last week, we talked about how we can have faith that God is in control of this new year, of 2020. And we talked about how we don't have to fear 2020. We don't know what's going to happen in 2020, but we can go into the unknown with faith. Don't. You should have seen it last week, Mrs. Bridget. They were all
Don't say
singing.
it again.
We had Elsa in here and everything. So yes, we learned. All right, shh, quiet, quiet. All right, we learned that we can have faith that God is with us even when we go. We are done talking about faith. We're done. The skipper and Arthur and Doofus have left.
Alright, guys.
All right, shh, we're done singing like.
unknown.
We're done
We're
singing
not
like
going into
Elsa.
the unknown
We're
anymore.
done singing
You
like
already know
Elsa.
what it is now, so I don't want to hear this unknown.
All right, shh, Emily.
It's not
calm down.
Christmas anymore.
So we are doing a detective series. I got my spies and
We
my
did
cities.
that last year.
We did something like it last year, but we did not do what we're about ready to do last year. It's similar in a way, but it's not the same. So
They're the same people.
these are the same people, but we're not doing the same kind of
They're
thing.
holding
So
guns, people.
no, because they're spies.
I thought
Back
they were
down.
microphones.
Stand down.
They're just holding laser pointers.
Yeah, we're shooting up lasers on the wall. That's what
It
they're
kind
doing.
of looks
See.
like their hand.
Kind of does.
What's that thing
So-
hanging from the ceiling?
So we are going to pretend that we are detectives. We're going to pretend that we're going to be detectives. We're going to be
I
doing
forgot
some
my sunglasses
investigating.
at my house.
So, but before we do that, we have this little video to watch. So check this little video out.
I don't like videos. I hate videos like Yeah, me too. The video's not showing. Look. Hurry, everyone. This one is. Guys, be quiet.
Let me start over because you guys are
What
talking.
Bonjour, hello. I'm Adrian Chase of Chase Industries, the CEO and the founder of Chase Industries. Welcome to the Junior Cadet Program. Now, all of you junior detectives,
I can't hear him. Me. Speaking different language. So much noise.
a special treat for you today. And for this case, it's not just you and me trying to figure out the case. No, it is Inspector Gilbert. Now, let me pull up his information. Hold on. Yeah. Here you go. Inspector Gilbert. Susan? Inspector Joubert, look at that picture. He doesn't know I got that picture. It's, don't tell. You see that he graduated from the International Detective and Inspector University here in France. And and then his most recent case, before this case, was solving the missing fruit case, So it is very exciting, very exciting. We have Inspector Joubert here today. Look at that picture. Look at it. Probably Inspector Joubert. Am I right? Okay. Well, I think it's time for Inspector Joubert to come out now. So let's close this up. Put this away. Zip up my little baggie.
It's a baggie for.
Once
Oh,
again,
no,
my name is
no.
Adrian Chase. Known from Jason.
What's
See you
a
later.
Barney? That was creepy. Okay, stop. This sounds like Chucky music. Yeah, it's Chucky. It sounded like Chucky music. It sounds like from Pink Panther. It is.
Oh, hello. How dare you? You stay right there.
He has a gun. He can kill you.
That is scaring
He
me.
has a gun. He can kill you.
That is. How dare you?
He's cardboard. He's cardboard, so he can't hurt you. He's a shadow. Hi, Master Austin.
No, I am not Pastor Austin. I'm Inspector Joubert. Nice to meet you. How are you today? You can stop shaking my hand now.
Give him a
Stop shaking my
hug.
hand now.
I'm not
Stop shaking my hand now. Let go of my hand.
Give me a hug.
What is it? Hello?
Give me a hug,
Hello,
girl.
children.
Let me hit you with a laser.
Hello, children. Okay, sit down,
Give
please.
me a hug, girl.
Sit down.
Sit
Sit down. Sit down.
Pastor Austin, I
Sit
know
down.
my
Sit down.
No, sit down.
Sit down.
I can see
Sit
his
down.
arm up.
I am-
Have a seat.
I am Inspector Joubert. Nice to see you. How are you today? Hello, nice
Not
to
good
see
on
you.
the couple
Yes.
boys.
I am here to help you
Inspector
solve
Jobber?
the case that you will be working on. I have my detective magnified. It's stuck in my pocket. Hang on. There it is.
Oh, let me see.
There it is, my make. Woo! That's scary. Step away. Let me see. Hello. Oh, look at that. Oh, that is a scary face. That is a scary face. It's a scary face too.
Do it to me. Get to me.
Oh, that's scary.
Oh.
Scary. Okay, sit back down. Sit back down. Let me put my magnifying glass away.
That's creepy.
So,
Can't do it to me.
So, it is my job to make sure you are ready for this case. I will be here to point out
What case is it?
clues for you.
Oh, yeah.
Clues for you to find. Because you remember the case is top secret. Top secret. So you
Wait,
cannot
let me
leave.
tell everybody. Top secret part.
So you cannot tell anybody. In fact, you know what? The first thing you have to do.
We can only tell our
You
parents.
have to do.
Let
The
me
first
tell
thing you have to do. Let me show you, detective.
Okay, I'm gonna tell
Shh.
everybody.
No. Now I
Can
have to
I
make
tell-
sure the
stop.
area is secure. So. Quiet. Quiet.
Can
Let me show you what you do to make sure the area is secure.
You
Okay?
just look like Pastor Austin.
It is what you have to do. You say, it is
Yeah,
lovely
it's nice.
weather we are having.
He is.
I hope the weather continues.
Oh my
There
God.
is nobody back there. It is okay. Do not
There's
fear.
nobody back
It is
anywhere.
If
There
the
was
weather
someone back there.
stays
Oh yeah, there was
this
someone back
nice,
there.
we are going to have a nice.
Ow.
There is nobody back there either.
But there
Hello.
was. Oh yeah, there was someone back there. I was back there. There's Jordan.
Oh, that's a scary. Okay, there's nobody back there. I make sure the area is secure.
It's her. It's
Somebody is back there.
Oh yeah.
Quiet. Let's leave the little decoration alone here.
When we get to the decorations
There's a
fall.
lot.
Hey, what like
So-
someone behind there.
So I will be with you, but I must.
There's someone behind there.
I must go now because I have a lot of work to do. I have to
No, you
read
don't.
what
The
this
area
kid
is
says.
not secure.
The area.
It's Angel.
It is lovely weather.
No.
We are having.
The-
I hope
Someone
the
got
weather continues. The area is secure. But I must go. I have a lot of
The
work to do.
area's
I
not
will see
secure.
you
There's
soon.
someone behind her.
I will see you soon.
Area 51. I'm taking your chair. Area 51 is coming. Hey, no. I'm from Area 51. I'm ET. ET's going home. Don't kill me. Nobody's home. Guys, we can't see it. Who's that?
Oh,
That's him. That's Pastor Awesome with no beard. That's Pastor Awesome with no beard, I'm pretty sure. It's actually him with no beard.
he's gonna be watching.
Look at a bald cap on his
Who is
head.
that?
There's that bearded us from last week.
He was here last week.
Yeah,
Hey,
he's
Doc.
back. Hi, Dr. Vader. Can you call me with your lens?
He's coming. He's coming. I think he's coming.
What if it's showing him going into your walking in hair? That's Andrew inside the costume. That's really from all the doll horror. I think he's gonna come. Is he watching me right there?
Oh,
Yeah.
Chucky, I watched it when I was 4, and I always have nightmares of him. And I wish I was
Austin.
What?
Remember that
I think
guy
she's scarred.
that just walked in here randomly last week?
They stay
Yeah.
for home. He was on the TV. At my concert, I saw the
He was on the TV.
And then someone in my class.
Watching.
He was watching
Alright. Calm down. Calm down. Calm down. Calm down.
That was scary.
Calm down. Let me see if I got this
I
right.
like
You mean
that
to tell me the guy who came in here last week is watching?
Yes.
He looks like
Is he watching
Batman.
from
He
there?
looks like Batman.
Is he
Alright,
watching?
so-
He looks Darth Vader.
You know what?
Alright.
You know what he looks like? He looked
What?
like a handsome man.
Oh, you stop. You need to sit down.
He looks like a handsome man. Like
So,
He wears
a handsome man
Just
is my
stop. Alright, so here's what we know.
He's not handsome.
Here's what we know. We know that first guy in the video is named Adrian Chase. He's in charge. He's Inspector Joe Bear's boss. And Inspector Joe Bear is going to help us solve the case. And what the case is, we are going to look at is a question that some of you guys may have heard in your schools now, and some of you may hear this come up later on. Is God real? Now,
Yeah.
we know that. We know that. We know God's real, but there's a lot of people who say, no, he's not real. And there's a lot of people who say that, who don't want to hear what the Bible has to say about it because they believe that none of that's a bunch of fairy tales. Now, we know that's not true. We know that's not true. But how do we
If
how
they
do
say
we
that, you just say who created.
how do we talk to these people? Who's got ideas? Tina?
Arms on your chest.
I thought you raised your hand. No. So the reason we're going to talk, she's like, no. The reason we're going to talk about this is because in 1 Peter 3:15, this is going to be our verse that's going to carry through
You
our...
forgot the
I'm sorry. 1 Peter 3:15. Thank you, Tamara. That it says this. It says, but in your heart, set apart... Hang on a second.
Can I read it?
Hang on, I'll read it because this is a long one. It says, put in your heart, set apart Christ as Lord. Always be prepared to give an answer to everyone who asks you to give a reason for the hope that you have. But do this with gentleness and respect. 1 Peter 3:15. So what this verse says is that first of all, first it talks about putting God as number one in our lives. That's why I asked you, why do we come to church? Because church is a lot more than just playing fun games and messing with Pastor Austin and jumping and dancing and having Jesus dance parties. It's a lot more than that. It's about, like you guys said, worshiping God and having our relationship, our friendship grow with God. So that's what it says first. And then it says to always be prepared to give an answer to everyone who asks you for a reason, for the hope that you have. But what does that mean? It means at some point, because people have asked me, they're going to ask you, why do you believe what you believe? why do you believe what you believe? Why do you believe in the Bible? Why do you call yourself a Christian? Why do you go to church? They're going to ask you that, and the last part we're going to talk about in a minute. But that's what we're going to be talking about as we go through the cadet program or the cadet academy, whatever you want to call it. And that's what Inspector Joubert is going to help us with. He's going to help us out with this. So let's start with this. And you guys all know this. Who made everything?
Jesus.
Jesus did, right?
God.
Jesus did, right? And we know, sit up for me,
There
Sarah.
in your seat.
We know that Jesus made everything. We know that God created. How many days did it take for him to make everything?
7 days.
Somebody said 20, not 2.
Sweet. 6 days.
6 days. It took him 6 days. And then on the seventh day, he rested. You were close. You were close. He rested. 6. Very good job. Very good job. 6 days. So, 6 days he made everything. He made everything in 6 days. Now, Pastor Jerry, couple months ago, he talked to you about this. What were the 3 words he talked to you about? Sarah remembered them, but that was a little bit ago.
What?
He talked to you about time, space,
and
and
matter.
matter, right? Time, space, and matter.
We learned that
I think I have them up there. There's time.
ago.
There's time. See, time is going by quick. There's space, and there's the
Matter.
states of matter. And Pastor Jared told us is that God was outside of time. Because did time make God, or did God make time?
God made time.
Technically, there is no time.
What about space? Did space make God, or did God make space?
God
God
made
made space, right? And we know that God made this matter, right? So, we know that God is outside of time, space, and matter, and he made all that, and then, in Genesis
In the
1,
beginning,
dot,
God
dot, 1, go ahead.
In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth.
In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Genesis 1, dot, dot, 1. The very first verse in the Bible says that God made everything.
In
And
the
it goes on to say
beginning.
I read it already because I watched
So-
like 50
Yeah, but there's everything. In the beginning, that's time.
Yep.
God created the heavens, which is space, and the earth, which is matter.
When did he make the other planets?
That would be,
I made a chicken
I think that would be considered heavens. Yeah, that'd be considered heavens.
Yeah. That,
So if we go to another planet, we're in heaven?
It's considered a heaven,
yeah.
not
Not the
heaven,
heaven.
not the heaven.
Not
It's
the
considered
heaven. but
heavens,
it's
though.
considered-
Heaven is higher
Heavens
than
is space.
Yep.
Go get in your chair.
Space, time, or time, space, and matter. So, we know that, right? But see, a lot of people don't even think that that's just a bunch of goofiness. Bunch of baloney. Bunch of baloney.
But
Because
she's
they don't,
attacking mushrooms.
bunch of water.
because they don't believe in what a miracle is.
Is that heaven?
No, that's just clouds in a tree. Space.
What?
Space.
Why is there a tree
They don't,
in
because,
clouds?
That's the longest tree in the
I
whole
mean, get your
world.
seat, please.
because check this out. There was nothing.
I'm just kidding.
There was nothing before God started creating things.
What rock stream of?
There were 0 planets.
0. Not a thing. Nothing. There was nothing.
Until one person came.
Not one person, not one animal, not one
Single.
Not
That would
one
be
single
God.
God had to create.
single thing.
God had to create Adam out of dirt.
Thing.
Not one
Right.
Looking around.
Not one. I was
It
thinking
like
the same
this
thing.
tree
Not
better
one.
Not one.
Not one
So-
mathematical.
And then
There-
you crunched them.
So people, that was a miracle that God can make everything
Not even
out of
a
nothing.
tree.
What are some other miracles that you've read about in the Bible? Who can help me out? What is a miracle that you've heard about from the Bible? Angel?
I have a thing that I gotta say and a question. Did you read the entire Bible?
Yes, I've read the entire Bible. More than once.
All right, Scott.
More than once.
My brother reads every year.
Bible is big.
A little jealous.
I'm sad. I'm fine with doing it again this year, but I'm like, I just did it last year. So. Yeah, yes, I have. More than once.
A
Good stuff.
miracle
I
that
recommend
God
it.
died for our sins.
What's that?
That Jesus was born.
Yeah, I just went through the book of Luke around Christmas time, and I read the birth of Jesus all the way up to his resurrection. Elijah, what is
Yeah,
one of the
because we did it on the plane.
what is one of the miracles that you've heard from the Bible or heard about from the Bible? There's a bunch of them.
One person was blind.
One person was blind, okay, and then what happened?
God threw money
Yeah. Can you
on his
imagine?
eyes.
Can you imagine that? Hang on, I love that story, Elijah, because there's this dude in the Bible who can't see, so he's like, hang on, Emily, I'm telling a story.
Wait, here you go. Here's some mud.
He comes up to Jesus and he's like, Jesus, I want to see. Can you imagine what the blind guy was thinking when he hears, you want to see? Okay. It's in the Bible. The Bible says Jesus spit in the dirt and made mud. So I can only imagine what the blind guy was thinking when he heard, you want to see? Okay, let's get me a minute. I'm sure the blind guy was like, what was that? Oh, yeah, that's a good miracle. Who else?
Why is my hair all wet?
Right, why is this dirt running? You know? Yes, what's a miracle you heard about from the
when
Bible?
dirt mixed together. It was in my concert.
Yeah, Jesus bringing people back to life.
Yeah.
Emily and Michael. You guys need to stop talking. Yeah, Jesus bringing people back to life. Jesus was always bringing people back to life. My favorite one is like Lazarus. Lazarus is one of my favorites. Angel and Penelope. One of my favorites is when Jesus called out to Lazarus and Lazarus walked out like, what's up, man? No, he didn't come out like a zombie, but Afina, what's a miracle you've heard about from the Bible?
What's up, dog? I'm going up to heaven.
Yeah.
Yay.
Yeah, the one that your mom did in the play. Yeah, your mom made me cry every time during that scene. I don't think I ever told you that, but you did. I was supposed to be the big bad Pharisee, and I'm like,
Big bad.
You were
Superwoman.
You were the not so big bad.
I was trying to be all big and bad. I had my beard out to here and stuff, and Bridget and Pastor Jerry would do that scene, and I would be like,
You'd become the not so
ugh.
Why were you Superman
So,
in that scene that we did?
Yes, tomorrow. What is a miracle you heard about from the Bible?
Nothing.
That's not a miracle, but go ahead.
It kind of is. Our body is a way to expel the waste.
In
and-
shows,
She's like,
in
funny.
shows, there's the devil on this side and there's God on this side. And you're like,
Well, the devil is
All right,
called.
who else? Who else? Who else remembers a miracle you heard about from the Bible? Angel?
That a girl couldn't walk and a girl and a boy, one girl was really sick, one guy
let's born on
couldn't walk.
That's right. One girl was really sick. A guy couldn't walk. What else kind of miracles did Jesus do? There was one about a lunch. It's probably one of my favorite. I wish I was there that day. Let me tell you. I wish I was there for Jesus' lunch miracle. Do you remember what that one was, Sarah? Yes. When Tamara comes back.
Hey Sarah,
Jade.
wait, when Tamara comes back.
When he touched like the food and all, like
Angel.
Yeah. How many
All the
fishes and loaves of bread did that boy give the disciples to give Jesus? Who remembers?
a million.
No.
80,000.
No, it wasn't 80,000. It was 2 and 3 fish, 2 loaves of bread and 3. And Jesus fed 5,000. Actually, Jesus fed 5,000 men. It doesn't talk about. Because when you read that story in the Bible.
Wait, so it doesn't include women in that?
When you
Or
read it,
children?
when you read it, guys, I'm with you. We're almost done. When you read it in the Bible, it said 5,000 men were fed and their women and children were fed. So that goes far beyond 5,000. Who else got another miracle that they want to mention? Who remembers what Jesus' first miracle was? You guys remember?
No.
No.
Being born.
Being born. Okay, yeah, being born to a Virgin Mary. Yeah, that's a miracle.
Oh, the star.
Never being killed.
Yeah, that's
Saving our sins.
saving our sins. The ultimate miracle was when he came back to life, right? That was
Yeah, when he came out of the cave.
when he came
He
out of
was
the
like,
tomb.
Hey,
When he came out of the tomb.
I'm
That's
not
the
gonna
biggest
get anymore.
That's
Never
the
gonna
biggest
get
miracle.
anymore.
So, we are going to watch a video from an actual police detective. We're going to watch a video from an actual police detective right now about some of the things that people who don't believe that God is real think. Let's watch
God
this.
can literally do anything. He can do a backflip with doing him.
This is from a book, so he's going to mention some of the things in the book he wrote that you guys don't have in the book.
He just created a bunch of torture.
Look what you
Like
can
World War III. Vimeo.
Like the war.
I was scared me like that.
Let's get you real detective.
Your kid and
Yes. Investigate Jesus with a real detective.
All right, cadets, we're about to get started here at Gold
That's
Coast
the actual
Is that Wallace?
Academy. And
Yeah.
this first chapter you're going
That's
to
Wallace.
read is about
Hi, Wallace.
the most important
Hold on.
Yeah.
Like, really? That's the tool? But yeah, it is a tool that we use as detectives all the time. And when I'm wearing this outfit and out working a case as a homicide detective, this is the first and foremost thing I have to keep in mind when we're working investigations. It's this, ready? Don't be a know-it-all. Yep, that's the title of this chapter. Don't be a know-it-all. Don't think you know the answer before you start. You have to avoid what's known as a presupposition. What is that? Well, you don't want to presuppose. You don't want to think in advance. You know something to be
You don't
true before the evidence actually tells you that it's true. Now, I've been on cases with Alan Jeffrey and actually seen Alan make this mistake, where he assumed a certain kind of killer involved in the case. He assumed a certain kind of location determines perhaps what kind of person we're looking for. Doesn't always work that way. Or the age of the victim determines what kind of person we're looking for. Doesn't always work that way. You can't assume you know beforehand what kind of suspect you're looking for. You have to wait until the evidence leads you there. Now, why is that important? Because you're going to see in this chapter that Daniel is going to find a skateboard. And he has to be careful not to assume that he knows who it belongs to. The same thing applies to studying the Bible. For example, when I was an atheist, and I was an atheist until I was 35, I had certain assumptions. I did not, for example, believe that anything supernatural was possible at all. In other words, if you told me a miracle occurred, I would have said, I don't believe it. Because I assumed that no miracles could ever occur. Nothing supernatural ever occurs. Because I had really never seen a miracle, so I thought, well, why should I believe they exist? Maybe you feel the same way sometimes. You never see someone walk on water, so why should you believe that Jesus could walk on water? Well, this is what we're going to cover in the first chapter. Now remember, when you go through each chapter of the book, you're trying to get tools for your detective call-out bag. I have a detective call-out bag. I've been using it for years. It's got my name on it, and it's basically just a bag that I use, and I put all my gear in it, so when I get called out to a crime scene, I show up with all my cameras and all the stuff I'm going to use, right? Well, there are tools also that I have up here that I use at crime scenes. And the first most important tool is I don't assume I know the answer before I start. Now, why is this important to us? If you've got friends, for example, who say, I can't believe anything miraculous, I can't believe in a miracle like walking on water or feeding 5,000 people with just a few loaves of bread. Those things just don't happen in our daily experience. Well, no kidding. We're not God. But if there is a God, as Alan is going to say in this chapter, who is capable of creating the entire universe from nothing, do you think that kind of being has the power to walk on water? Yeah, and if there's good evidence to demonstrate that the entire universe came into existence from nothing, and that an intelligent being is the best explanation for that, well then guess what? Walking on water is not that big of a deal. So that's why it's important for us to not assume we know, but instead to do your homework, to do the investigation first, and let the evidence tell you what the actual situation might be. Now, also in this chapter, I want you to remember that you've got activities, CSI activities, crime scene activities, that we're going to use the Bible as our scene. We're going to open up the scripture, and I've got some assignments for you to investigate. In this particular chapter, you're going to be investigating Romans chapter 1, and you're going to find out there's no excuse for us. If we look at the evidence in the world around us, we should conclude that there is a God. You're going to see why that's the case in Romans chapter 1. So look for it as the CSI assignment in this chapter. Also, if you look down below this video, you'll see buttons to push that will help you to download both the filling sheet, which looks like this. And you'll be filling out this sheet from the chapter as you go through the chapter, fill in the blanks, and you'll also be filling out and doing this activity. The activity for this chapter is a maze, as you can see. And I think it'll be fun. It's challenging, but the idea is for you to get to truth and to avoid the presuppositional dead ends in the maze. Make sense? Okay, get after it. I'll see you back here for chapter 2.
Bye, Barack Obama.
No, it's not Murph.
It's a smart.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to let your parents know.
We're getting baptized.
No,
We get to do the maze.
I'm going to let your parents, when I text your parents, I text your parents every Sunday and Wednesday. Mrs. Bridget knows. I bug you guys as parents all the time. But I'm going to let them know what we're going to be talking about, and I'm going to send the link to that website so they can come check it out and go through it so you guys know what we're going to be talking about. And we're talking about this because it's important for you guys to know. It's important for me to train you guys up because I want you guys, like it said in 1 Peter 3:15, to know and have evidence that God exists. Because when somebody asks you, well, how do you prove that God exists? I don't want you to go, I don't know. I want you guys to be ready.
Started your family.
Huh?
It started their family.
Exactly, you know. So it's important for us to kind of think like detectives and look. Make sense? It's important for us, and I want that for you guys. So, like he said, well, who can help me out? What was one thing that you learned from the video? Anybody? Elijah? Jade? No way? Alright, well. I know, he uses a lot of big words in the video. Angel?
Skateboards cannot make themselves.
That a detective is a lot of work.
Being a detective is a lot of work. Yes, it is. Yes.
Skateboards
So
cannot
let me-
make themselves.
Right, because like he said, the biggest miracle is that God made everything out of nothing. That's why I started talking about that. And the same God who can make everything out of nothing can do things like feed 5,000 or more people, can walk on water, can raise the dead, can heal the blind, can heal the woman who had the issue of blood, all that kind of stuff.
He just looks at them.
So one of the biggest pieces of evidence that we have to tell our friends and families who don't know about Jesus, who don't believe in God, is that the biggest piece of evidence that we have, like Athena said, is asking them, well, who made you? Tomorrow? Jesus did. God did, right? Because who looks outside? Who likes being outside on a nice warm summer day, which we don't have right now, but it's whatever. It's January. So
It's not negative 17.
it's not negative 17. We're not in a polar vortex, so praise God. But
Going back to school.
who likes being outside on a nice warm summer day? And you feel the wind, and you feel the nice grass,
And then your mom says you're going to be home playing.
and you play in the sandbars, and you heard the birds chirping. I tell you, when I go to work in the summer and I feel a nice warm summer breeze, and I heard the birds singing tweet 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 tweet, I think, God, you're so cool. I said, because nobody can tell me that this didn't come by anything, that this didn't just make itself.
It's just what?
But it's what? So and nobody can convince me that this all just happened to be one day. And it's the same thing, like all you guys and all your families. Nobody can just tell me that you guys just poop.
It has to do with coming from somewhere.
But you just poop. Because none of you guys are alike. None of you guys are alike. You're all unique. Like me and Andrew, we talk about you all the
But if we're
time.
all unique, that
In
means
good
we're
ways,
all
in a loving way.
alike.
But we do. We talk about you guys all the time. We talk about how Sarah is different than Emily. We talk about how Michael is different than Brooklyn. We talk about how Tamara is different than Athena. And on and on and on. We even talk,
We talked about Elijah is different than Angel.
yeah, we talk about how different you guys are and how God has made you guys all uniquely.
Twins are
And how God has put different interests and different abilities in each one of you. We even talk about our volunteers too, and how, in a loving way. But we talk about how our volunteers are different. Like Mrs. Bridget is really good at organization. That's why I go to her for the organization. I probably would drive her crazy.
You should see our house.
I probably drive her crazy. But she's good at organization, while Mr. Doug likes to teach on occasion.
Remember our house, okay now?
Occasionally, Mr. Doug likes to teach. A kid, Mr. Darren, likes to come in here and energize you guys up. All our volunteers are different, and I praise God for that, because nobody. How boring would it be? How boring would life be if we're all like, "Hello, I am a robot. How are you today, Emily?
I look just like you.
I look just like you. I talk just like you. I act just like you. Ha 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 ha.
talk.
Ha ha. That'd be boring, right? That'd be boring. That'd be boring. How many? Let's be honest with each other. If we were all robots, how many of you guys would get really bored really quick? It'd be boring.
I
And we couldn't even be able to swim.
I take my own battery.
I would jump in swimming and just kill them.
It would be boring.
Die.
So God didn't make us like robots. Yes, it would.
Robots
Because
can't be
robots.
Because there's electric circuit.
Robots have reprogramming, and your programming doesn't change. So let's say you never saw Frozen before, Sarah. If you were a robot, you would never see Frozen, because all the other robots would never see Frozen. It would be boring. It would be
They
boring.
wouldn't have ever thought about it.
Yeah, they would have never thought about it. They would have never been like, I'm going to watch Frozen 2 and learn the song and to be unknown.
No, would have never would have been made.
They never would have done that. So, we're going to take a look quickly at. I'm trying to have. Alright, I'm trying to get through this so we have time for our
Alright,
review
guys.
game. For our review game. So, even though I forgot to leave little prizes, but that's okay.
I was like, should I get it? I was gonna ask you earlier.
I
Alright
forget.
guys, pay
But we are
attention.
going to look
Because you're not gonna know the answers.
I'm just saying, because you're talking.
We're going to look at quickly at the verses that Mr. Wallace said. So let me actually. Let me, put on our my detective hat.
Oh my.
Yeah,
Rule number
So-
one about being a real detective: don't be noticed.
This is what Sherlock Holmes used to wear.
Act normal.
Alright, so we are going to do a little crime scene investigation. We're going to look at these verses. It says, these are long, so I'm going to read it for you. Romans 1:18-20. I'm going to paraphrase this because I'm running out of time. It's right here. It says, for since the creation of the world, his invisible attributes, his eternal power and divine nature have been clearly seen, being understood through what has been made, so that they are without excuse. That means that when you just open your eyes and you see all the animals, everything outside, and you remember that God made them, that God made everything, there's no excuse to say that there is no God, because nobody can just, all these animals just didn't appear. So, let's look at this next one. I forget this one.
Skip that.
Skip that one. So, but here's the thing. Here's what I want you to get away. Here's what I want you to get from
Do
this.
everything in love.
Because there will be times. Alright, no, hang on.
Why is it two sides of this?
This is a flappy hat. It makes me look cool. So,
No, it doesn't.
Read
normal.
So, alright.
First Corinthians 16:14.
I clap loud. So, here's the most important thing.
What's this?
Here's no, for real. I'm gonna be serious, and then we're gonna pray. This is probably the most important thing. I know you guys know all this, that you guys were made uniquely by God, and you know, Mrs. Bridget is, and that you guys were all made uniquely by God, and how you know that God made the world in 7 days, or 6 days, excuse me, tomorrow can mess me up if you copy me. So, in 6 days, God made everything, but I'm not making this up, there are people out there who do not believe that this is true. And I have seen conversations, Emily and Michael, I have seen conversations. Miss Bridget knows what I'm talking about. I have seen conversations where Christians have not been so nice to people who don't believe in God. They'll start talking, and then the talking leads to an argument, and then before you know it, the person who doesn't believe in God is just kind of just talking calmly, but the Christians are all like, that's what happens. I've seen it happen. I've seen it happen.
Angel, can you sit up, please?
There are sometimes, I know it can be frustrating when you know that something is true. It can be frustrating when you know that something is true and you're trying to explain it the best you can, and every person just is saying, nuh-uh, nope, not true. I know you just want to kind of take that person and say, it's true, listen to me! But if you had a friend, or if you had a family member who didn't believe in God, who didn't believe in creation, who didn't believe that Jesus loves them, and you started yelling at them as you tried to explain that it's true, and if you started yelling at them, what do you think would happen?
You would get grounded.
You'd get grounded?
They believe in it.
What did you just say, Jake?
Oh yeah,
Did
you
you
always
believe it
fake you.
Well, they would
Okay,
be
you guys are talking.
Fake you until you believe.
You guys are talking way too much. You missed what Jade said. I'm sorry, Bob. You missed what Jade Bob said. Because she was right on. She got it right.
They'll believe it less.
They believe it less. They would want absolutely nothing to do with even learning about the Bible, about learning about God, or learning about church. So as I was praying last night at work, because I got bored at work, so I just started praying. It's always good to do that. I started praying. So I go, just Lord, just give me wisdom for these kids. And I felt led to remind you that when you have these conversations, we're not copying me right now, we're listening. We need to be explaining and talking to people in love. And I'm not talking about, hey, I'm not talking about that kind of love, okay?
baby.
I'm not talking about when you're talking to somebody explaining that God is true. I'm not saying you just stop and be like, hey, how you doing? I'm not saying that. But we need, like it said in 1 Peter 3:15, it talks about doing everything in love. Let me flip back to that really quick. There it is. So it says, always be prepared to give an answer to everyone who asks you to give a reason for hope that you have. But do this, what's this word?
With gentleness.
And
Respect.
respect. Yes, Tamara.
Why do you keep on forgetting the dot? You always say 3:15.
1 Peter 3:15. It says, do this with gentleness and respect. Because like Jade said, if we don't,
Is he going to call me Jade or is he going to call me Bob? Pick one.
I'll just call you Jade Bob, or Bob Jade. If we don't do that, like Bob Jade said, we're not going to want to we're not going to want to hear anything about it. I've seen it happen. I've seen it happen in real situations, and I've seen it happen in fake situations. One fake situation was recently. So, I want you, this is what I want for you guys this year, in 2020. Because every year I pray, I say, God, what do you want the kids to learn? When I first started, it was how to be a superhero for Jesus. Last year, if you were paying attention last year, it was mostly focused on loving people like Jesus. Everything kind of went back to loving people like Jesus and loving God and loving others. This year, what I want you guys to get is I want you guys to know that you know that God is real. And I want you guys ready. Because as you grow older, you'll come in and you will have those conversations with people who don't believe what you believe. And I'll ask you why you believe what you believe. And I want you guys to be ready to answer. Because I believe in God, and I believe He created things because the evidence is all around us that all the animals, all the trees, all the cities, all the landscapes, that's all evidence that He is real. That's what I want for you guys this year, to understand that God is real and how much He loves you. And I really do. I really do pray that as we go through this series and we do the evidence that you guys will understand it. And through this, you will be ready to go and your friendship with God will grow. That's why I know she's hanging up prizes. So, right now we're going to pray. So I want everybody to bow your head, close your eyes. We're going to pray really quick and then we're going to do our do again. So, we're going to pray. So, I want everybody to be quiet. Nobody talking around. Ha-cha. Ha-cha. Ha-choo. Ha-cha. So, God, we thank you for today. We thank you for our time here in Kids Church. God, we thank you that you are real. And we know that you're real. Because like we talked about, we know about the miracles that you've done and how you created the world out of nothing in 6 days. And that's awesome. So God, as we continue to go through the series and see the evidence that you are real, help us be able to tell our friends, our family, who don't know you, who don't believe in you, help us present the evidence to them, like you said, in gentle, or like it says in 1 Peter, in gentleness and respect and in love. Because we want our friends and we want our family members to come to know you like we know you. So God, help us come in back on next Sunday ready to learn more about the evidence that proves that you are real. In Jesus' name, amen. Amen. All right, and now, very quickly, because I just got told they were praying.
I like that prize.
What we learned.
We're going to do our, where's
I
our
like the
song?
pop socket.
No, you already have a pop
Should have a
Yeah,
song.
but that's in my